Okay, so
What are we doing next?
We have a few more stories to basically figure out. Does anyone have any requests? Any Irish mythology? Any legends?
Those stories. Oh, we got a hand up.
Okay, all right, great. Really long story.
We do a bit of it.
Really long. We did it last week for an entire show, but we can do a bit of it.
We do a bit of it. Yeah. They've got us. We're good. So, long ago, there were high kings in Tara. High kings and high queens. And there was one high king whose name was Cormac MacArt. He became very famous. Very famous for a number of reasons. One of them was that he was the king who instated the system of Brehon law that's never actually been repealed on this island. System of fines, no prisons, no police, and a pretty well-functioning society.
It's pretty good.
Back in the day. It's pretty good. Not without its problematic elements, but it was all right. So Cormac MacArt also was famous for occasionally butting heads with another very powerful institution in the country at the time, and that was the Fionn, a band of warriors led by Fionn McCool, who lived outside, lived in the wilds and lived in the forests, and, were an army that answered to technically no one and technically everyone, and were sworn to protect Ireland from threats within and without, which was the kind of mandate that makes a king nervous, because it's a bit vague, isn't it? And it's maybe a little bit, you could twist that. Come after a king if people weren't happy with him, but people were mostly very happy with Cormac MacArt. He had several children. Carbra, his son, was the eldest, and he had a couple of daughters, but the youngest daughter, most beautiful, was called Gráinne. And Gráinne grew up in Tara, educated, taught and trained, cultivated. I almost want to say indoctrinated, but that's not the right word. Do you know what I mean? The thing where you got to walk with the book on your head. Like she was very elegant, made into the image of a princess. You don't know what that word is that I'm looking for at fucking all.
She went to circus training? That's where I've gone. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Cultured.
Thank you.
God. I'm not cultured,
Yeah,
so
no,
I wouldn't
Aaron's
know.
not cultured, so this was useless. Anyway, useless to me, Aaron. But anyway, Gráinne was not useless. Gráinne was incredibly well educated, incredibly cultured. And, as a lot of people in ancient Ireland did, had an incredibly high opinion of herself. We weren't Catholic yet in those days. We didn't know we were supposed to hate ourselves.
Shame hadn't really been fed into us,
We hadn't really gotten the good old dose of shame, so Gráinne just went around the place going, I think I'm fucking deadly. And everybody who met her went, well, your dad is the most powerful man in the country, so I agree. And she never really got much of a knockback. She never really got much rejection. But there was one particular day. It was kind of a pattern in Gráinne's life when she was a young woman. A lot of young men would try and court her, try and get her to go meet them outside the walls of Tara for a little bit of an out tryst in the bushes. And she was getting to around that age where these kinds of things would be exciting. But everyone who came up to her, she'd go, nah, not good enough. She'd find a fault with everyone. See, some of them were clever, but they weren't as pretty as her. Some of them were pretty, but they weren't as clever as her. And there was always something wrong with any of these romantic prospects. And people would tell her she had too high of standards, and she would go, what the fuck does that mean? I'm not lowering myself. Fuck that. So she kind of went on in proud isolation for a while. And then one day when she was in Tara, she was still quite young. She was about, kind of 15, 16. She saw a hurling game. It was very exciting. And there was a whole load of fine-looking young men running around on that pitch, lashing balls at each other, catching them out of the air, hitting each other with sticks, hitting sticks against each other. There was ash clashing. There was tackling happening. It was very exciting. The old blood got pumping, and there was one young man who just caught the eye and didn't let it go. He was gorgeous. He was lithe and he was handsome and he had dark hair and he was moved with this incredible grace and efficiency. He made it look easy, whatever he was doing, even if it was very complicated. And she thought to herself, that boy, that's the lad for me. That's mine. I want that one. And at a certain point, he turned around and the breeze blew his hair back off his forehead. And she just thought, oh, fuck me. Yeah, I'm having them. And she had to go and lie down for a bit, frankly. And then she came back to, got herself a little bit zhuzhed and came out to meet him. Extremely confident. Well aware that all she would need to do is walk up to him and go, "It is your lucky day." But when she came back, to her dismay, he'd left. And no one could tell her his name. Because there were a lot of very nice looking young men on the hurling field that day. So she never found out what his name was. Which was a torment to Gráinne. Because, she'd had high standards before. But now she was measuring everyone who talked to her against the boy from the hurling field, who was extremely attractive. And somehow, the more time went by, the more attractive he became in her memory. And for a while, she thought she's never going to marry anybody except the boy from the hurling field. This was true love. This was destiny. One day, he'd walk in through the gates and she'd find out that he was, I don't know, a prince from somewhere else. It'd be great. It'd be a lovely story and it'd be fantastic, and that was how it was supposed to go. But years went by and he didn't turn up. Now, at the same time in Ireland, we did warn you this was a long story and I'm not going to do the whole thing. The same time in Ireland, the Fiona under Fionn had run into a little bit of difficulty. Because Fionn, their captain, had recently been widowed. And Fionn had many great loves through his life. We looked up a list of them, actually. There's about 17. He got around, did Fionn McCool.
There was one he was really sad about, though.
There was a couple, there was one got turned into a deer. There was one cheated on him.
Yeah, we didn't like her.
There was a couple who died.
You died, yeah.
There was a few divorces. Probably there was anyway, there was happy, sad. It didn't last. Anyway, he had recently been widowed and he was, as they used to say back then, just fucking bringing everyone down. He was he'd gotten to that point where it was like, when people are a little bit melodramatic.
No.
And you put up with them. And then something actually sad happens to them and it's somehow worse. Because you're like, you'd have the same level of intensity if you'd stubbed your fucking toe. As your beloved is dead. And it's a lot all of the time. It's a lot.
Emotions are hard.
I'm not saying they're not.
Defending Fionn, I think he needs it.
To be fair, he doesn't come off well in this story.
No, he doesn't.
But we're not going to get all the way into that. No, Fionn was heartbroken. And Fionn had now passed the point at which the rest of the Fianna thought that, they needed to be sympathetic to his heartbreak, and he had gone and crossed the line into now you're just moping and it's melting everyone's head. So his son, Oisín, came up to him and said, look, we need to get you a new partner. We need to get you a new love. We need to get you a new relationship because I can't handle this anymore. Not so much for you, but for the rest of us. And I have an idea. There's a woman in Tara who's, she's incredibly high opinion of herself, but she's very justified in it. She's very beautiful, she's very accomplished. And because there's a bit of tension between you and her dad, you two getting married might smooth things down with the king. Can I go and ask her for her hand in marriage? Fionn said okay. He thought, all right. He'd heard about Gráinne. She was famously beautiful, and he thought, yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll marry this girl. If she'll have me. She might not. She probably won't. Everyone hates me. I'm going to go. I'm going to go lie on a hillside and weep. So Oisin said, yeah, you do that. So he went off. He actually got Fionn's messenger, Dardove, to carry the message because she was more trusted than he was. And she was a woman. He reckoned she'd be able to talk to Gráinne. So she arrived. Are you taking it up, Diarm?
Yeah. So I have to end this half somehow.
I'm getting really close.
Okay, well, I tell you what. Gráinne had made the decision that whoever came and asked for her hand in marriage next, she would simply have to say yes to, as long as there was no problem or issues with him. And when Dardove asked for her hand in marriage to marry the leader of the Fianna, Gráinne asked a few people about Fionn. And he was blonde, and he was strong, he was courageous, he was gorgeous, he was a leader. He had all the wisdom of the other world on the fingertip, his thumb actually. They got it wrong. And everything she heard about the man made her think she'd be a fool not to. And it would also make a peaceful coming together between her father and Fionn and the Fianna, so she thought she would do this. And when she agreed, it wasn't long until the marriage was about to happen. And she had 50 women doing her hair and all of the bride's grooms there, and they were all, well, it was amazing. The whole maids, grooms and maids and grooms. And there was lots of them all together in one place. And they were all doing lots of stuff. And they were decorating everything. And she asked for the names of the Fianna who were on the table as she saw many of the heroes. Quilta,
From behind the curtain.
From behind the curtain.
Must be said.
So she was peering through behind the curtain. I was getting it.
It's important.
She asked who these heroes were, and she saw Oisin, and then she saw Quilta, the tall, thin man, and then she saw him, the boy from the hurling field. There he was with the dark hair covering over his forehead, the sad look in his eyes. They always have a fucking sad look in their eyes. And he was just looking off into the distance, all melancholic, and her heart just jumped into her throat. And then she saw standing next to him this old fella. And her servant girl said, oh yeah, that's Fionn. That's the man you're going to marry. The old fella? Ah, no, she said. Fuck this anyway. I have to get out of this, she thought to herself. Well, she put a sleeping deposit into water, and she basically served it to all of the men, and making sure that Diarmuid and Oisin didn't get a drink of this draft. And so when everyone was conked out, she slipped behind the curtain, and she went straight up to Oisin and Diarmuid, and she said, will you run away from me? To Oisin. Oisin said, I'll run away from you. And she said to Diarmuid, will you run away with me? And Diarmuid said, absolutely not. Are you mental? And she said, I will put a gesh on you, a magical promise that you cannot break. You have to run away with me, or else doom will destroy you. And Diarmuid looked at Oisin, and Oisin said, I don't know, man, I think you should probably go, so.
Can't argue with a gesh like
Doom sounds awful.
Yeah.
But he double geshed her.
He did. He geshed her back. He said, I will only run away with you if you come to me neither naked nor clothed, neither indoors nor outdoors, and neither on foot nor on horseback. And then he sat back thinking, whew, dodged a bullet. Dodged a very attractive bullet in a very nice dress.
Because Oisin said, Fionn McCool will never forgive you. If you run away with this woman, he's a prideful man. He will literally hunt you down for the rest of his days. And he's lived a long ass time. I don't think he's
good at
die.
hunting.
And Diarmuid said, it's okay. I think I foxed the fox in this one. It's all right. You know what? Don't worry about it. Until that night, she came to him, dressed only in a robe.
Yep, neither naked nor clothed.
On an ass.
I thought it was a goat. Anyway, it wasn't a horse, so she got around that one.
And in a doorway.
Yeah, neither indoors nor out of doors. We told you she was clever.
Diarmuid said, you sexy, clever woman, you. And with that, he ran away with Gráinne, and the whole rest of that epic tale is known as the pursuit of Diarmuid and Gráinne.